Hey, everybody. Welcome to our last episode of season 1 of the Dream Big podcast with Bob Goff and friends. I've been a friend with you along this whole journey for season 1. I'm Scott Schimmel, and I'm here with, can you guess it?
It's him again. Hey, you guys, I'm so glad. It seems like a last episode, there should be some cliffhanger. Like, do we cut the
Yes.
red wire, the blue,
Yes.
both, like whatever?
Will there be a season 2? That's what
Yes.
people are dying to
Yes.
know.
Is the queen coming back to Downton Abbey? Yeah.
It seems like it seems like a few months ago that we were here with Jason Russell, the first day of recording. And in fact, it was a few months ago, but so much has happened. So many conversations. This is the 31st episode in a season 1. That's a lot of episodes.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the people that have downloaded, a million people
million.
that are on this journey. And so you're not alone.
Yep.
As you're listening to these ideas about ambitions and how do we pursue those and look for opportunities,
Yep.
we thought we would wrap up the season with a kind of Q&A.
Yeah, so we went to Instagram, as you do these days, and put out a story asking people, what questions do you have for Bob as we wrap up this Dream Big framework for season 1? So I got a few questions, and we're just going to kind of pick your brain. There's in no particular order necessarily, but we looked at, I think we had like 300 questions, and just try to look at what are some of the ones that floated
That's
to the
awesome.
surface.
Did you know Jesus asked 300 questions, but he only answered 2?
Really?
Yeah, so I don't know. This might be a short episode. I am Jesus. I'm just trying to be like him.
All right, here's a question from, I'm going to mispronounce her name. I think it's at kolya.nh. How do I know what my big dream even is? That's kind of, we're starting back from episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like, how do I declare a big ambition? How do I even figure out what it is?
Yeah, how do you know when you have an itch? Like when you have like something on your cheek or your forehead or your arm, you've got this thing. It's just like it just keeps recurring.
Yeah.
And you can either put toothpaste on it, pretend it isn't there, and make the itch go away, or you can scratch it a little bit. I think what we've been talking about is more akin to like a scratch and sniff. Find the itch, scratch it, and then just like spend a little time over that and say, well, let me understand where that comes from. It isn't just this fleeting thing. Like day 1, I want a horse. Day 2, I get the
Right.
horse. Day 3, what horse?
Yep.
But instead, it's this itch that it recurs, and you need to scratch it. And scratching the itch means going deeper underneath the ice cap and to say, okay, so where does that come from? Is this me trying to get validation for something or approval? I would say that's not an ambition worth pursuing. But if it's something that you feel like God has put this in you uniquely, you want to be a marionette or a musician or whatever it is that you want to do, to say, actually, there's this beautiful thing that I'm going to contribute to Earth, and I'm actually going to take the next steps on it. So it would be something that's recurring, something that will outlast you, something that's worthwhile. And for me, just because faith's a big deal for me, it kind of squares with what I'm reading in the scriptures about what God wanted us to do. Hungry people, thirsty people, sick people, strange people, naked people, people in jail. And there's nothing about saxophone in there. That doesn't mean saxophone isn't a good ambition. I would say, like, live fully into who God made you to be. And if you have a desire to be a musician, then get the sax or a piccolo or whatever it is, but take the next steps. And we spent some time on that. And along the way, that's where you're going to get some of an indication. Like, this is actually what we've been calling in this series a fast pony. Yeah. This is actually where an ambition meets an opportunity.
Well, that first month, I remember we had Jason Russell, Joshua Dubois, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, and one of the things I remember, 2 of the things actually that were impressed upon me were pay attention to where you're curious and pay attention to problems that bother you.
Yes, and don't be faked out when you get a no. Remember, Joshua jumped in his car. He got a no, like, can I be part of this campaign? And the response is, heck no.
5 times.
Yeah, so he just got in the car and drove there. And then he ended up being, Obama's right-hand man on these things. Somebody, Elizabeth, with the things that she'd endured and leaned into. And there was a couple things that might have caused some other people to push back. But isn't that the story that we all have? It was a thing. It was, asking Sweet Maria out for a date. And she's like, oh, heck no.
50 times.
But to say like, oh, wow, like I want to do it in a respectful way, not a creepy way, not the like restraining order way. but instead this persistence, and that's what I'm noticing about people. It's the scratch. You just got to continue to scratch that itch, and it's being persistent about it, and having being self-aware enough to know this is actually something beautiful and enduring I'm going after.
Yep. Yep. Well, Mackenzie P_13 asked this question. How do you know if what you're chasing or pursuing is right? I mean, that kind of builds off that first question.
Yeah, I wish you have those, the whole 8 ball that
Yeah,
you have on the
right.
desk, and you
Am I in
shake
the right
it,
direction?
and it says, you're doing
Chances
the right
are.
things. Yeah, we don't get that 8 ball, and thankfully so. But you can get some confirmation. I would ask some of the friends. You're not trying to vote this thing. You're not trying to build consensus about it. But ask the people that know you and love you the best. You say like, "Hey, does this seem like crazy for me, or does this seem like the next step for me?" I'm not looking for approval from people, but from the people that know you the best, to take some time and to say, here's everything I know about myself. Here's everything I'm thinking about this ambition. What do you think? Does it seem like it's a good fit?
Hmm. Yeah. Katie Southwick asked, in getting to the goal, I don't want to put relationships on the back burner. So do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, what a great way to go, Katie. I think you can bring these relationships. It's not binary. It's not either or. I go after my big dream or I sustain relationships. What if you have your relationships that matter the most to you launch you towards those things?
Uh-huh.
Now, Sweet Maria Goff, her first pick would not be to keep the travel schedule that I keep.
Mhm.
Yet she says, if that's your thing, if that blows your hair back, then do that. I'll be right here when you come back.
Yeah.
And it isn't said with militants. She's just so self-aware of who she is and how God wired her together.
Right.
She's not trying to be like me, and I'm not trying to be like her. We're trying to be like Jesus.
So how do you share a sense of ambition then? What does that look like when you've got different tracks that you're going down? What does the we ambition look like there?
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to frame that. You can first share it with somebody safe. You've got this little, bird, the fledgling that is cupped in your hands, and you want somebody to like treat that thing other than really tenderly. Like, so I would just share your dreams and your ambitions with people that are really safe. They're like Switzerland. And then to dig a little bit deeper in that and to say, I'm not looking for people to challenge my ambition, but people that are as curious about my ambition as I am about theirs. To say, who is it that you want to be? Tell me about who Bob is in 10 years. And so I would say the same thing with this question. Tell me who you want to be in 10 years and bring your friends along. How do you want these friendships to look in 10 years? Do you guys want to keep it like on the surface or do you want to go really deep? And neither one's better than the other, but they're vastly different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's a question from Brayley_K, and this feels personal to me because I remember coming out of college, I decided to go work for this ministry outfit, and a lot of people in my family were just scratching their heads. Like, that's just not. So what Brayley asked was, what do you do when your family doesn't believe in you?
We're not building consensus on this thing, Brayley. You've got this beautiful, if you're 14, honor your parents.
Yeah,
If you're
great point.
114,
Right.
honor your parents, but you don't have to be your parents. What you need to do is live fully into who God made you to be. And you've been given some unique ambitions, and there's a way to navigate both. You can actually be who you are, and don't let other people decide who that is. People can affirm things in you. They say, I see this in you. There's a recurring pattern I've seen. It's just beautiful in your life. But having people either give or withdraw love to manipulate what you do can be a really dangerous and toxic thing. And so you need to be mindful of that. I want to be mindful of that with the people that I love the most. Even if I disagree, I'm not going to withdraw love. What I'll do is to say, wow, that's crazy. That wouldn't have been my first pick, but tell me what things you're looking forward to in this, and how do you deal with ambiguity and fear and all that? Because the people, and it might be your parents, Braley, are dealing with ambiguity and fear
Yep,
and all
totally.
that. This is their
Yep,
first time
that's
through as
right.
parents, and so just be kind to them, but be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Kind enough that you'll actually go after your ambitions.
I remember I had a conversation with my mom and said something to the effect of, Mom, trust me. Even if you don't understand or necessarily believe in what I'm doing, just Do you trust me? And that kind of actually helped reset. So that transition, I don't know how old you are, Brady, but that transition to adulthood is tricky. And that's what Bob's saying. Like parents have their own stuff going on top of your stuff. So
And just to realize the humanness that they experience is just like the humanness that you experience. And we're all like amateurs at this stuff. It's
absolutely.
amateur night. So you just don't want to ricochet off each other as this is happening.
All right, Bob. So, what do you do to stay positive when everything seems to go wrong? This is from Mike McGuire, 77.
The short answer is in my insecurity, I just get really funny because when things are going wrong, I start cracking jokes as if it doesn't matter to me that it's going way wrong.
Yeah.
So I'll use humor as a crutch. But what I've been working on is a self-awareness that comes with saying, you know what, Bob, this is you just being really insecure. And so what I try to do is go underneath the ice cap a little further and say, I wonder why I feel, and to actually allow yourself to feel sad that things are going wrong. But a setback isn't a campsite. And so I'm not camping out in the middle of these setbacks. I'm trying to understand them. And with that understanding, I renew my sense of purpose. Like, why did I do this in the first place? And it renews my energy to say, so it isn't this yippee skippy, how do I stay happy? I just am reminded of the purpose. I'm reminded about why I started out on this adventure. And that sometimes can give some overall perspective to things that are going a little wonky. And I'm telling you that sometimes from the surface, it'll look like everything's going terrific in my life. Can I just like go on record saying things don't go terrific in my life? Ask some of the people that are in this room, like Scott, Haley's in here with us. Like they know that things are going. I released a book. And the book came out. This is release date. It got printed upside down and backwards.
What?
Isn't that awesome? Oh, and then they ran out of them.
Oh,
so
that's
on
a
the
problem.
release, well, you know what? It just wasn't a really great day, but I'm not going to camp out there. I'm just going to move on. And when you have something else to compare it to, a hangnail's a big deal until you get leukemia.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to dramatize it, but to say find something bigger to compare some of those things to, and not just things that are happening to you. Find things that are bigger in other people's lives. Your pain is still your pain, but if we can understand it, I think that's where hope comes in, and hope feels like that kind of encouragement that you were asking about.
And Mike McGuire, 77, goes to Christmas future. Things will go wrong. They will go wrong.
Bingo.
So
Promise.
anticipate it. Yes.
Money back guarantee.
Yes. So don't be shocked or surprised. And it doesn't mean everything you think it means or feels like it means. Okay. In the same vein, Lady Catelyn must be like a Game of Thrones fan here. She asked the question, and I think this is, I'm curious about how you're going to answer this. How do I keep from burnout? So you're driving, you're pursuing the big dream. Things aren't going as well as you want. You're putting in 12, 15-hour days. How do you prevent from burnout? How do you notice when it's happening? What have you learned?
Yeah, those are actually two different questions, because I was thinking, how do you keep from burnout? Like maybe you can't. Like maybe the trajectory of your life and your activities is that you will actually burn out at that rate. And so what I would say is, how could I become so self-aware of what's going around on my life? What are the metrics in my life? And I'll give you an example. If I had a dashboard, I wouldn't say RPMs, because mine would always be redline. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even be odometer in my life, but an odometer in Maria's life. Like, how many miles are all of my activities putting on my wife's life? That would be, so I would start burning out when the people around me that I love the most start burning out. They're like, buddy, that is not working for me. And if it ain't working for me, it ain't working for you. And so I would ask some of the people around you, what are the metrics? What are some of the things? So having an understanding of where you're redlining, what works in your life. Some people need, sweet Maria Goff. She would say, I'm a race car with a small gas tank. Right? She can go really fast for short spurts.
Yep.
Right?
I like that. I know for me, having 3 little kids, my wife will be that reflection back. She's when I'm short with the kids, extra short.
We all have tells, don't we? It's almost like in poker, some people start twitching or their ear folds in half or something when they have either a good or bad hand. Know your tells. And as soon as you see these tells and the people around you or feel safe enough around you to tell you this is you a little on the edge right now. And they can say that to you in a kind way. The people that are in this room have done that for me. They say like, they know my tells and they could say like, you know what you need to do is I think you need to go home for about an hour and a
Take
half.
a lap.
Yeah. Just catch your breath. And it's just not a big intervention. There's no
Mhm.
drama about it, but they just know your tells.
Yeah.
They know your schedule. They know the pace you're keeping. They go like, that'd be a good hour and a half to spend.
Yes,
You got
somewhere
no
else.
time.
I
Yeah.
get physical aches and pains. I even years ago I had this huge speaking event I was really worked up about. I went to the hospital because I thought I was either having a heart attack or gallstones. They found nothing, and I just kind of charged through the speaking event. And my wife, as soon as I got done, she said, "How do you feel?" I feel fine." And then she started to put it together and say, "Every time you're really burnt out, your body is telling you. Your body's screaming for attention.
Yes.
Pay
There's
attention."
is there a really popular book, Your Body Keeps Score?
Yeah.
So take advantage of these resources that are out there, understand your tells, and then do something about it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Erica Mom One asked this question: What do you do when your big dreams disappoint others?
Yeah, well, that's so relatable, Eric. I think everybody just nodded wherever they were, say like, "Oh, I know what that is," and it's really this idea of transference. To say, "I don't want to transfer. This happens to be my big dream," but if they're in conflict with somebody else's ambition, say you're in a marriage, and then your ambition is one thing, and then your spouse's ambition is something else, and they aren't they're mutually exclusive. They just
Right.
happen to be. What a great time for a conversation to say, you know what, this is, we can reconcile this thing, but we're not going to the lowest common denominator. We're going to the highest and best use. So we can say, we're not just looking for the lowest thing that we can both agree, but what would be the highest and best use of you? What's the highest and best use of me as we do this? And how can we do that in a way that honors each other? And so I totally get that, Erica, that idea you have an ambition and then it feels like such a buzzkill for somebody else. And so just say, this really feels like a buzzkill, like I've just really done you in. Is that, do I have that right? And they go, you've got that exactly right. And
Yeah.
say, what would be the next step I could take without abandoning my ambition? Is there another step I could take that would both honor you and honor this ambition that I have? And so just communication can be, and it's easy to say and it's difficult to do, but it's worth the effort. Search for those words and feel free to just say, I don't have access right now
Hmm.
to the words that I need to have
Ooh,
to
that's great.
describe what it is that I'm feeling. It's just such a
That's great.
beautiful placeholder. It honors the person to say, but when I get access to those words, I'm going to be thinking about it. And I'm going to let you know if that'd be okay with you. That's just such a reasonable way to
Totally.
say.
That's very wise. Matthew Torrey asked this question: Am I being irresponsible to those who depend on me to pursue my dream and risk failure? So, and I get that. I think a lot of people, their dreams, maybe it's goes down the path of a nonprofit or not as much income. And so how do you balance being responsible and stewarding and taking care of it? So how do you speak to
I'm
that?
back in communication. I mean, if I decide to bail out on Love Does and the things that I'm doing,
Right.
I got 400 teachers in 700 or 7 countries and all this. There's a lot of people that are counting on me to get a couple things right. But one of the things that I would do, again, would be to communicate what's going on. We have a rule at our house. Anybody could call a family meeting anytime they want. If the boys were upstairs arguing about something when they were really young, we could say family meeting and we'd all talk about it. So when I was going to quit my job at this great big law firm I was a partner at, I got everybody together. I'm like, family meeting. And they're like, I could hear them talking upstairs, like, who said something?
Yeah.
Something like,
Who's in
why are we
trouble?
having? Yeah. So we all sat down together and I said, remember, Dad works this high-rise building, this law firm, and I'm going to quit and I'm going to start my own law firm somewhere else. And I'm not sure how it's going to, like, we always call it peanut butter money, but I think I'll have enough to buy peanut butter. And they're all looking around at each other like, you called a family meeting for
For
that?
this? Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
like we're all together, right?
Right.
Yeah, be like, what? And so sometimes what
Hmm.
can be, I'm not saying look for consensus in that, but I'm saying honor the people around you to say, here are the things that I'm doing. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is the hit that we might take. I recognize what it is. And are you willing to risk that with me? And the answer might be no, we're not willing to risk that. And I think you just need to honor your family.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
Maria's
Yeah.
shut down a couple great ideas in her wisdom, she said
Right.
that would be a really bad idea. I'm like, well, then I want to honor that. Yet others, she said, like that's an idea that I would want to have zero to do with
Yeah.
if it was me. But that
Party
sounds
on.
nuts. But if
Right.
you want to do that thing, I'll be
Right.
right here.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. Is there such thing as too big a dream? This is from Lauren LeCamp. Is there such thing as too big of a dream?
I don't know. Do you want to swallow the moon? That's too big. But I would
No.
say sometimes we get so reasonable about, Lauren, I don't know if this is, if faith is important to you, but sometimes we get so reasonable about our faith that we just don't want to like make Jesus look bad because we don't want to like shoot for the moon. And I think that makes your faith feel really small. I don't care what it looks like to somebody else, but for ourselves, if you have this dream that's been emerging, it's been knocking around, I would say this idea to swing for the fences, and it wouldn't be so much, it isn't just this gallant, like just go for it kind of thing, but instead to remember why you're doing what you're doing and to have an ambition instead, the kind that you could actually handle yourself, to say, what would be an ambition that would be so big that would actually need to rely on God to make this happen? Because most of us are pretty capable of doing so many things. What if you take on something, you go like, I have no aptitude. I'm telling you this as a guy that closed escrow on a camp that's 150 acres with 60,000 square feet of buildings. And I don't know how to make a hot dog or mow a lawn.
Right.
But that seems like a big ambition that started 2 days ago. But I'm just going to do the next thing because I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want a place where people can be safe and get the conversations they need to have so they don't make some irreversible decisions. And if you just remind yourself about why you're doing what you're doing, boy, I'm telling you, those big things don't start looking so impossible. They'll still look immense, but they won't look impossible.
That's a perfect segue to my last question. What are at this point in your life? What are you dreaming big for?
You know what? I really want to finish well. And I'm going to outlive everybody who's listening, but I'm 60, and so for whatever amount of years have left, I just want to live it and engaged and involved, and then turning over to all these wonderful, capable people that I get the privilege of working around more and more to see them launch and not get in their way. And it's not even just words of affirmation, but just giving more and more opportunities to people. So the rest of my day, I just want to give my kids, my friends, my things, more and more opportunities to go after the things. That's why we started the podcast. I
Right.
go, we should have some of these conversations.
Right.
They're not the only conversations happening, but they
Yep.
can be an additional conversation. And
Yep.
so if you've been listening to these things and there's something that resonates with you, I hope that you'll take the next step with someone really safe to say, I just want to understand my dream. And once you have tone on why you're doing what you're doing, if faith is a big deal for you, you check it against scripture and you say, that actually is right down Main Street. And then I'm like, go for it. Then find somebody like me or somebody that God's already dropped in your life and to say, can you help me go after this dream? And there's all this crazy stuff will happen along the way. It's nuts.
So the cliffhanger, is there going to be a season 2?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Does a chicken have lips?
We're just getting
Actually, I don't
warmed
think a
up.
chicken does have lips. It just seems so Southern to say.
Does a chicken?
But,
No
but
clue.
we got to do this
Yeah.
because I'm not done with the conversation. If you're done, tune out.
Right.
But if you guys are up for it, I'd be up for it, having some more friends on. And these are only people I sit at their feet to learn.
Yep.
I got nothing to teach anybody, but I'm actually taking a lot of notes from the people that are around me, some of the people that are in this room. Haley, thank you for all that you've taught me. this year: grace and poise and understanding. You're unflappable. Scott, a wise friend for more than a decade, 2 decades. People find people like this, people that you trust, folks that you'd walk across broken glass for, and then share your ideas, and then give them the opportunity to live into theirs. And that's where you're going to find your greatest purpose will be in helping other people achieve the things that they want.
Yeah. Well, season 2, we're going to dive deep with people on specific topics: family, finances, career, the world. How do you dream big? How do you apply this framework to the specific
I can't wait.
areas
We
of
got
our
some
lives?
good friends coming too as well. Just each of them, I promise you, will be humble voices. They will speak the truth. They're not looking for a bunch of affirmation from being on the podcast. What they want to do is be helpful. They just want to reach out, not a strong hand, but a weak hand, and say, is there anything I can do to help you on your way? And that's the vetting that we do. And so with season 1, many thanks. If you were one of the participants, either listening or speaking, thank you for diving deep. And in season 2, we'll try to honor your time for having made space for this, so that we can do some of the same things. And I'll just trust that God will do the big things over you. And that's my benediction, that God would do big, immense, unlikely things in your life, in your family, with the people around you, and that you would continue to dream the big things that God has put in your path.
Yep. So we will see you again early 2020.
Okay, let's go do this thing. Bye for now.
Well, it's true. We are wrapping up season 1, and we hate to see it go. Don't worry, we have season 2 coming up in the new year. But we have to let you know about our Dream Big Live workshop coming up November 11th and 12th in San Diego. Why do we keep doing these? Well, they're so impactful. Imagine 2 days spent with Bob as your guide, with a community of friends, working through a framework, working through the steps to figure out how to declare your big ambitions and to launch them. So you can't miss it. You got to come. Sign up, dreambigframework.com. Sign up today, November 11th and 12th in San Diego. See you there.